Oh, it's me again. I'm having a live stream field day today, and I just wanted to put the information that I'm sharing today into separate videos so that it's not too much all in one go. This video is about the Awakening Shakti Online Group Programme. So it gives you an opportunity to hear from me some of the information that I was going to share on the webinar this morning. Nobody showed up for the webinar today, so I just thought, well, I'm kind of prepared, so let me just do a live stream on it into this group, because you ladies are the kind of ladies that I would love to work with in this program. So yeah, where to start? The Awakening Shakti Online Group Programme, which is a bloody mouthful, so I have to think for an abbreviation for it, first came to me about, I can't remember exactly if I'm honest, about 4 or 5 years ago. I was having a very dark night of the soul as part of my goddess growth path that I've talked about in other videos. And I had gone into a place of having to completely surrender into not knowing anything and not being able to do anything, feeling utterly hopeless and in the dark for a good few weeks. And sort of like an ego death experience, I suppose, and I've had a few of those on my journey. And then one day I just was sitting on the floor in my room and began to write these things on bits of paper and put them around me on the floor. And this just came out, it wasn't really, I hadn't sat down and thought in my head, oh, what could I do now professionally? What kind of service could I offer now for women? It wasn't like that. It was just more of a download that seemed to come from up, from below rather than from above in a way. And so I wrote all these things out on bits of paper and I shuffled them around, and then that was it. I had the headings and the titles for the different aspects of what for me represented the feminine growth path, the path of feminine awakening, the path of sexual and spiritual awakening for a woman. And this, of course, was all based on my own experience of what I'd been going through until that point, because I've been on this journey since 2003 and, really been absolutely devoted with heart and soul totally to awakening, to self-realization, to truth, to love, to healing, to shadow work, to all of it. It's been my absolute devotion, really above and beyond anything else. And so it came from that, but it also came as knowings. Yes, just knowings that these headings were, or these subjects were important, even if I didn't necessarily know the fullness of how that could be taught in that moment. So there it was. And then not that long after that, I did begin to offer workshops in London around those themes, and I delivered some of the workshops, but not all of them. There were 9 themes, and so I delivered some of them, and they were beautiful, powerful and profound, but I never got to deliver all of them because my work sort of went in other directions. And then this year I've been really reevaluating, what is it I really want to do? What is it I really want to give my time to? How do I really want to structure my life? How do I really want to work? And it came back to these workshop titles and these themes and this path of feminine awakening and transformation and personal growth, which is really, it's not just one thing. It's designed to be all-encompassing, to be total, to be life-changing, to take us through each and every aspect that's required, to take us through each and every stage that is needed to be explored. So I came right back to that, and I came right back to, I love working, well, my soul's calling is to work with women who know that they too wish to awaken, who are already on this path, wherever they are on the path, or who just know they have a calling to it. You know, when I did my Kundalini yoga teacher training, there were people in that teacher training who had never done any yoga before in their lives, or who'd never done Kundalini yoga before in their lives, but they had a calling. They knew they had to come and they followed it. Pretty amazing. And everything I have done in my life that supports who I am now and what I teach now has been as a result of me following a soul's calling and knowing. So it's just a knowing. I saw a picture, I saw a word, I heard about the teacher from somebody else, and I just knew, or I had an experience with that teacher or of that particular practice, and I knew I had to do it. So it could be that that's what it is for you, you just know. So then I came back to that. I'm here to support women who are on this path with me, and it's kind of like I'm here as a way shower, I'm here as a guide, I'm here as a teacher, I'm here as a facilitator for other women who are wanting to go through this process, to share what I've learned and to inspire and hold space. I love working with women, I love empowering women, and also just a bit about why that is. Of course, it's my own personal journey, it's my own personal story that has been my healing. I was born into a family that was very split, very conditioned along patriarchal lines, where the feminine was very disempowered. And I grew up with this passion to be empowered and to then empower other women. And I've had to learn it. Although I had it naturally as a child, it was bashed out of me as a teenager. And my whole life's journey has been about remembering and rediscovering who I truly am and where my power truly lies as an awakened woman. And it's ongoing. So, this is my passion and my path and my purpose. So I know this is what I'm here to do. I love working with women and I love going deep. And I know, again, from experience with myself and for the clients that I've worked with over the years, who come to me and say, I just want to heal this. I just want to work on this. You cannot change something so deep rooted in yourself in one healing session with me, or in a few weeks of practice. It takes time and it takes practice and it takes embodiment. I will never tire of saying that. It takes time, it takes practice and embodiment. So it requires you to actually do things in an embodied way as a day-to-day part of your life to actually see change. So that's why the program is 9 months. We have a month for each theme to give that theme the time and space that it needs, and to give you the time and space that you will need to really engage with that theme. A day, a night, a week is not going to take you deeply into a place where something is changing and sustained. It takes time. So that's why there is the spaciousness of doing things month by month, and why each month has a theme. And 9 months, I hadn't even thought about this, of course, is the time from gestation to birth. So it's like this whole process of growing and recreating and rebirthing ourselves. I was thinking about this in bed this morning, and I was thinking how excited I am to take the journey myself and to go deeper myself. Because there's this thing that sometimes we can think we know it all. We think we've arrived, we think we've landed. When I did my Sexual Awakening for Women facilitators training in 2000 in South Africa with Shakti Milan, it was an intensive residential course. And I had also done sort of previous workshops with her, but then I went on to be kind of an apprentice with her and to be a supporting facilitator on online courses that she offered and holding space for other women. And so we revisited the material every time. It was the same material revisited, and every time we revisited it, I learned something else. I experienced something else. So in the doing of the practices, in the re-engaging with the questions, I deepened every single time. So it would be a mistake to think that even if you look at some of the themes and you think you know it, until you engage with it, I can assure you there will be more that comes from engaging with the themes. Let's see, what else do I want to say? That's kind of a little bit about the history and all of that. Community, oh, that's right. So community is needed. I love working in groups. That's kind of my forte. And I love what happens when women come together. I love what happens because there's a power to Shakti circles that you don't get so much one-to-one. Even though one-to-one work with me is amazingly powerful and transformative, when we come and sit in circle, there's an even, I don't want to say even more powerful, it is as powerful in a different way, but a very strong dynamic of change and love and togetherness. And that circle space is magical, and I want to create that circle space for women, not just in London but internationally, which is another reason why I'm doing this course online, because I want to call in women from everywhere. I want us to create this circle from everywhere so that we also have connections with sisters, not just locally but internationally, globally. And we build those circles. I think that's going to be really powerful. And I love, I grew up in Germany, I've lived in America, I've lived in Asia, I've traveled a lot. I love international communities. It's another big part of me and my identity and my work. So there's also that part to it. And the other thing is, in terms of how I wanted to create this, it is that I work best when I give my full focus to something. And when I was doing, I was doing online Kundalini yoga all of last year. It was really great. One of the courses we dived a little bit deeper, and I did a whole month's course on Kundalini yoga for radiant womanhood. And there was a group of about 10 to 12 amazing women doing that course with me online. And I was giving that my full attention and holding energetically, and my love and my passion. And I was doing live streams and posting information, and the women in that group really felt it. And then the last week in that course, I had to shift my attention a little bit towards something else. So I couldn't give so much total attention to that group and to that course. And of course, I was still present and I was still doing what I was committed to doing, but my energy was a little bit also on something else. And all the women in the group felt it. So you can feel when I'm holding space energetically, even in a virtual group, and you can feel if I'm being total with you or not. So I want to give the feeling of total support and total presence. So that's another thing. What are we going to cover? I will, and I have posted, but I can post the link to the Facebook, no, not the Facebook page, to my web page for the group program underneath, so you can actually take a look at it. But it is kind of a flow of, I'm just going to get the document up myself so I can just have a look at it for a moment and speak to it. Can't see without my glasses on. The different stages. So the first stage is the still voice within. So still voice within creates the foundations for everything else that is going to happen. This is where we explore, how do I create for myself a daily practice and or a way of cultivating my witness consciousness. So then everything else that happens on the journey, you will have, if you don't already have, you will have begun a practice for yourself to connect with your still center. So in Kundalini yoga, we call this your stable polarity. In other meditation traditions, it could be called a transcendent state, but it's a state where you go beyond your ego and you're able to witness from a neutral, loving space your own process. This is, in a way, we're starting with the cultivation of the consciousness of Shiva, the divine masculine, so that we can then explore Shakti. So we're creating that stable foundation for ourselves. It's really important to have that, because one of the shadow aspects of the feminine is that she can get so carried away with her emotions that she can completely lose sight of anything else. And we need the stable witnessing polarity of the masculine for self-awareness and for holding space for ourselves, so that we are not looking for others in our lives to hold space for us. We can do it for ourselves. And also when we go into deeper self-inquiry, so that we are then able to witness ourselves honestly and communicate the truth of our own process to ourselves and to others in the group. Does that make sense? So the second theme is the fruit of feminine archetypes. So, you know, again, in a previous video, I was talking about the dark feminine and our shadow sides. The archetypes that are there in our collective consciousness, be that in the form of goddesses or other, we can take Jungian psychology. They have a number of archetypes: the mother, the maiden, the crone, for example, as archetypes, the queen, the lover. So there are all kinds of archetypes that we can play with as a way for us to begin to explore both our light and our dark. Again, there is no judgment about dark and there is no elevation of the light. Both are needed, and it's with both that we become whole and true and in alignment and empowered. But we can use archetypes as a way of looking at our stories, looking at our identifications, looking at our tribes, looking at where we want to grow, looking at where we want to heal. We can call on the energy of those archetypes to support us in our journey of healing, growth, and empowerment. So I hope that makes sense. The next theme, the third module, is cycles, stages, and natural rhythms. So again, this is something that is so important as women. Many women out there are living completely disconnected from the awareness that they are cyclical, that they have a monthly cycle that affects them naturally, of course. Taking the pill, having contraceptions like the coil, or just living in such a masculine way that you're not paying attention to what your body is telling you in terms of fluctuations of energy, fluctuations of mood. So we are cyclical. There are also stages of the seasons and of our lives. So we are at different stages in our lives. In Kundalini Yoga, we talk in terms of different stages based upon a 7-year cycle. But there are other stages. Again, there is the maiden, there is the mother, there is the crone. Those are big ones. You may have just begun a stage such as perimenopause or menopause. You may have just gotten pregnant, you may have just become a mother, you know, that you may have just got married. There are all kinds of different stages of the feminine life cycle that are important, that require honoring, that require respect and listening to. And so then there are these natural rhythms, so cycle stages and natural rhythms. What is your natural rhythm? What is your natural flow? The environment we live in conditions us to not pay attention and to cut ourselves off from this. And in so doing, we are cut off from our power and from our truth and from our wisdom. Waking up as women requires us to reconnect to all of this. Okay, I hope that makes sense. The fourth stage of this is then falling in love with you. So self-love, yeah, it's the biggest one in a way, because we are love. The divine feminine is the expression of pure love. Most of us do not really love ourselves fully. And in fact, all of the difficulties and struggles and challenges and wounds that we have would be healed in one go if we fully knew that we are love and fully loved ourselves. It's such a big one for women to go beyond the conditioning of lack of worth, to go beyond the conditioning of not being lovable or not loved, to go beyond the playing small, to go beyond the looking for love outside ourselves, to go for, therefore, having relationships that are not satisfying and or difficult and or abusive because we don't love ourselves. I've done that, just so you know. Looking for love outside ourselves in all kinds of ways, this scrabbling, this searching around, instead of recognizing the pure radiance and grace that is within us and the love that we already are. So this is a really, really crucial one. Falling in love with you. The next module, module 5, Sacred Body of Women. Sacred Body of Women, by the way, sorry. So this connects, and by the way, all of these are different layers. They do all interconnect. Although I teach them as standalone modules and we'll do standalone practices and inquiry for each one, of course, each will feed and lay the foundations and interrelate with other themes. Sacred Body of Woman. Your body is sacred. Your body is beautiful. Your body is the gateway to pleasure. Your body is the gateway to the divine. Your body is the gateway to your wisdom. Your yoni is a part of that, and your yoni is a part of the body. So we will be exploring yoni as a part of this. Yoni means your vagina, your womb space, but not just the yoni. So we have to love, explore, and know our bodies intimately and reconnect to a deeper sensory awareness in our embodiment. Again, our natural propensity as women is to feel, to embody, to express through the body, to open the body. And this is where we connect to the sacred. So this whole module is about ways of experiencing this. And I know through my own work of teaching for 15 years that pretty much, not every, but pretty much every woman I have met does not love her body. That makes me sad. It makes my heart ache. Because that is a conditioning that's been put on you to stop you from shining your light and truth into the world and being the amazing woman you're born to be. It stops you. If you don't love your body, you can't enjoy sex and you can't be in your power. It's a disempowering narrative of the patriarchy, and I want to stop it. So yeah, I've yet to meet a woman, well, there are a few, who will stand in front of me naked and say, I love my body. And that's where I want to get us to. Module 6, 6 month, reclaiming sovereignty and authentic power. So big one for me, big one for all of us women. How do we stand in our power, in truth, in authenticity, without going into the shadow expressions of feminine power, which we have known through our conditioning? For example, I would see my mother, who was very much a victim, go into raging, ranting, passive-aggressive, snarky comments, emotional manipulation. That is not powerful. Many of us have been taught to give our power away and or to express it in a distorted way. There aren't many people, I was thinking about this, who actually are able to stand in their power and express it in a clean, authentic way. It's very important. This can include owning our anger and learning the healthy and clean expression of our anger and our boundaries. But it also comes with a responsibility and compassion. So, and it requires taking back all of our projections, all of the people and places and things that we blame and have blamed for our lives until now, and truly becoming sovereign beings. It's an ongoing process, but it's so important for each of us now to do this. Awakening sexual energy is the 7th module. So sexual energy is Shakti. It's, in a way, it's who you are. It's the energy that creates everything. So it's not just about sexual pleasure. When we awaken our sexual energy, we awaken our consciousness. When we awaken our sexual energy, we will quite naturally begin the path of awakening. So they're connected. The awakening of sexual energy will move you towards self-realization. Slowly or fast will depend on many other things, but as soon as you begin to awaken your sexual energy, you will start to feel called to live your truth and to be the truth and to be the light. And you will begin to encounter all your shadow aspects. It's not just about pleasure. It's about truth. It's about self-realization. And having said that, if there are parts of you that are blocking that flow, they will of course have already been experienced by you as issues in your sexuality and issues in your relating, because they are not separate. And so this is where we get to explore all of this and experience sexual energy as a blissful, loving force for whole body orgasm, for whole body pleasure, and for spiritual awakening. Yes, I love that part. We come on to the 8th month, the 8th module, meeting the masculine. So we began with the masculine in a way, with cultivating the witness consciousness, and now we explore our inner relationship with the masculine. We look at our outer relationships with the masculine, because one will reflect the other, and we will notice how that has been shaped, and we will do a little bit of more conscious engaging with the masculine within and without, so that becomes a healthy relationship. Again, there's so much negative programming and conditioning that we've all had, where there can be distortions in this relationship and we are unaware of it. But be assured that if you are repeating patterns in your relationships and your sexuality, that's assuming you're heterosexual, with men, but also with women if you're bisexual or gay, if you're repeating patterns, they will reflect patterns of your parents and your ancestors, and we get to explore this and make it conscious. And it's also another step to wholeness, and it's another path to self-love and empowerment, because we want our masculine and feminine to be making love and dancing together. The final module then, the Dance of Divine Union, is a module for integrating everything that we have been through, bringing it all together, almost like now a full alignment of all the chakras, and also an opportunity to see where we want to go from all that we have learned and all the changes we've been through, and what is next for us in this new space we will find ourselves as we are about to birth our new selves in a way. So that's the whole thing. The teaching will be through webinars and self-study. So the webinars will be 2 webinars a month. The first one, a transmission. So a practice that we do together, a teaching and an energetic transmission from me that kind of sets you off on that theme, chance to ask questions as well, but more focused on the teaching transmission element. You get then a video with a guided practice and a worksheet with questions for you for that month. Sometimes it will be just one practice, sometimes it may be more than one practice, but I don't want to overload you. And then we come together usually 2.5 to 3 weeks after that to reconvene, where you can, in a second webinar, ask any questions, share what's going on for you, tell me about your process. In between times, of course, there's a Facebook group where you can share anything that's arising and have my support and have everybody else's support. So that is ongoing. That is the main part of the teaching, but I will also be offering Kundalini yoga classes once a week for anybody who wants them, and to support the theme of each month. We can organize meetups for people in their locality as much as possible, and I will be doing interviews with expert other teachers who can bring their wisdom to bear on the topics for each month, because there are so many amazing people out there who have so much to share, and I love interviewing people. It's another one of my strengths and loves, so that will also be coming into the mix. I think that's everything. Yeah. So that's an outline of the whole thing. The scheduled date for starting is October the 28th, which is in a couple of weeks' time on a Sunday. The schedule for the calls is, by the way, on a Sunday evening at 5 and a Wednesday evening. I can't remember what time, I'll have to look. Let's just see, is it on that document I was just looking at? I think it might be. Let me see, I need to put my glasses on. Yeah, 5 o'clock on a Sunday, 6 o'clock on a Wednesday, that's UK time. So I want to know what your questions are. I want to know how this speaks to you. I want to know if you want to do it with me. And also, just really honestly, so far, there have been 2 or 3 women who have expressed a sincere and genuine interest. And in my head, I'd conceived of 20 women joining this program. And in a way, to make it work energetically and financially, that's what I would need to call in. So at the same time, I'm really open to hearing from you and reconfiguring this. If you want to do the program, if you want to take this 9-month journey, I'm open to changing certain elements so that maybe more of us can do it. Maybe everyone in this group can do it, to find a way for it to work for everyone who wants to do it. So my main questions for you are, what do you think? How does this sound? Does it excite you? Do you want to do it? Tell me. Questions, ask me. I'm really open to a dialogue around this, but this is me putting out what it's all about, so then you can feed back to me your needs, your thoughts, your questions, your comments. I hope that's been really helpful for anyone who's been curious, or anyone who's just joined the group and had no idea what it's all about. So yeah, thank you, and Sat Nam, much love, and bye Mel. Thanks for watching, lots of love.